And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Deeper Dive because it's 5 o'clock. Even though we're going to be here for 2 hours, this is the Deeper Dive. I am Josh Engleman. That is DK DFS. We've got NBA Cup today, and that is what's fun about Fridays. As real of NBA regular season games as we can get. Unfortunately for us, the first couple games of the night are just on paper ass beatings. And then it gets a little bit better as we go further. But we're going to break it down in full, across the board, all the way through everything. We'll get to 6 o'clock and we'll turn it over to Live Before Lock. So hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live, and follow us both on Twitter. I'm at Josh Engleman. I don't have any underscores. That's DK DFS. He has all of them. DK __ DFS. What's going on, man?
Yeah, doing good. Glad it's Friday. We got NBA Cup Day. We have a few should be pretty good games, and then a few games that are not so good. But yeah, good contest, and ready to talk about it.
Yeah, these early games are ass beating. 7 o'clock, 7:30, 7:30. And then it gets good. And then the final game of the DraftKings slate, which is the coolest part of all of this, 9:30 start, Denver, Houston. What a game. That should be a lot of fun. I hope that stays competitive because I want to see it. What won't be competitive, though, is everything we talk about for like the first half hour of this show. Dogs are happy to yell. That's happening right now. Hey, Harper, maybe we don't do that. We're going to talk about Pacers and Cavs. Maybe. I assume everybody hears that dog barking, right?
Yeah, it's not too bad, though.
Okay, cool. She's getting yelled at right now. There's 3 dogs in the house, so it's not easy. Cavs and Pacers. Pacers are 2 touchdown dogs against Cleveland. There's a lot of mess going on in this one, but we've got just north of 20% ownership coming into Evan Mobley. We've got 15% ownership coming into Benedict Mathurin and a $3,100 Jaylen Tyson, about 10% to Donovan Mitchell, and then nothing coming in anywhere else. Let's just start with the Jaylen Tyson piece because I think that's the most interesting piece. 3,100 guard forward eligibility, punt play for today. But we have not seen Jaylen Tyson in a minute. How do you want to handle this?
Yeah, it feels like he's going over-owned right now. I understand why he is getting some ownership because he's close to min price. He's got guard forward eligibility, but I think there's, in my opinion, probably better value on this slate. We have Miami. We'll talk about possibly more value opening up. We do have some injury news that we are still waiting for too. Again, this is the early game, so do I want to lock in like one of my value plays in the early game? Probably not. So. I wouldn't talk anyone out of playing Jaylen Tyson, but I think looking at the ownership for me, it just feels a little bit high. Obviously we do have a couple key tags we're still waiting for Cleveland. I kind of think that the Garland's going to play, and then we're still waiting on Jared Allen too. But yeah, for me right now, the ownership feels a little bit high.
Yeah, assuming he's in, I get it. Like it makes sense. He was playing real minutes. I expect him to play real minutes moving forward. I don't know if that's today, which is the scarier point. But if we get and I expect Garland to play as well, but if we got Garland out and Allen out, then it's okay, we're starting to run out of places where you can give other people minutes. And if Jaylen Tyson is healthy enough to play, I think he's just going to soak him up and be a default option. But I wanted to mention, he's questionable. Jared Allen's questionable. Darius Garland's questionable. We haven't had Garland in ages. We're getting Evan Mobley with some ownership. We're getting Benedict Mathurin with some ownership, and he's taking every shot he possibly can since he's come back. How are you feeling about those two since they're sort of like the pay up more and guys that are getting some love?
Yeah, so Evan Mobley does feel a little bit underpriced here. I know the production's been a little bit up and down, but great spot here against the Pacers. Obviously would like him more if Jared Allen plays, but still think he's a good point per hour play even if Jared Allen is in. So totally fine with Evan Mobley ownership right now. Mathurin at 15%. So as you mentioned, he's taking every shot. His first game back, he had about a 40% usage rate. Last game, his usage was pretty high as well. And you did see basically no limit. We talked about that in last stream that I thought there was a chance he would just come out and play full minutes. He did. He played 34 minutes. So If the game does stay competitive, you're probably expecting like 35 minutes. Now that is a big if because this Pacers team is really bad and they're going up against a pretty good Cleveland team. But like the upside on Mathurin if this game does stay competitive, and he would probably be a reason why it does. So yeah, those two, I totally understand why they are getting ownership. Looking at the rest of this game, you're getting around 10% or so to Donovan Mitchell. I think that's fine. We'll like him a little bit more if Garland doesn't play. But again, my lean right now is that Garland does play. And there's basically no ownership coming to the rest of this game. Isaiah Jackson had me on full tilt mode the other day. I played him in the 888. He picked up 2 quick fouls and a third and then got benched for Jay Huff. So couldn't have gone worse there. So you already know he's going to like have a huge game tonight when I don't play him. But yeah, I don't think there's much else here. Nemhard, 6,300, I think he's in play for tournaments. The ball handling role is really good for him. He had like 80 plus passes made last game. So again, he's got the ball in his hands a ton. But outside of that, there's not much else here.
So I think we have 1.5 more things to touch on.
Okay.
One, realistically, we can get no Jared Allen here. Do you think it matters at all? I think we move Evan Mobley to the center spot. I think we get who's the other old Pacers jerk off that's the backup for the Cavs? I can't think of it right now.
Dean Wade?
I don't want to scroll down. No. Thomas Bryant.
Thomas Bryant? Thomas Bryant.
Yeah. So I think Thomas Bryant would just get like maybe backup center run, or Larry Nance would get maybe backup center run. Do you think anybody benefits at all if Jared Allen is out to the point where we would want to get to them in fantasy?
Probably not as far as like the front court goes. I mean, they might just start like if Jared Allen is out and Garland and Tyson are in, they might just start Mitchell, Garland, Tyson, Hunter, Mobley, and just like play Hunter at the 4. That's
if they start Tyson in that scenario, that's crazy. My guess would be it would be Wade, but either way, like if it's Tyson, then he's going to be a lot more owned than 16.
Right. Yeah, I think it would probably be Wade or him. But yeah, like Dean Wade, not great point per minute. You did see Tomlin pick up the start last game. That was a little bit of a surprise. He's been in the rotation, but I don't think I would get to any of the value front court guys for Cleveland.
Okay, I have one more question for you for this game. I think this one is like sneaky relevant. The only reason that it's relevant is because he also has power forward eligibility. Should we be playing Jay Huff at 3,800? Or is last game an anomaly?
I think last game was an anomaly. So I did see Isaiah Jackson had a starter's jersey on at shoot around. So I leaned that whole start again. But you never know. There's a possibility that they go to Jay Huff after his huge game. But I don't think we're going to see that type of performance again. He could not miss. Again, he started the second half for Isaiah Jackson because he was playing so well. But to me, it kind of feels like just an outlier performance there.
Okay. I'm just wondering if they ever killed Tony Bradley. That's sort of like the piece that gets me a little bit more. Like, if it ever just becomes a 2-center rotation, a $3,800, like if we knew it today, a $3,800 Jay Huff that has power forward eligibility should be more than 1% owned in this spot. I just don't think it's actionable right now. Like unless you're playing 150 or something, I don't know how you do it with any confidence.
Yeah, that is a good point about Bradley because he only played 4 minutes last game. Did have 3 fouls in that time, but I agree. If he starts getting cut from the rotation, then obviously both Jackson and Huff are going to look a lot better.
We didn't say his name at all. Somebody asked in chat, Ryan Stubbs. I have no interest in a $9,100 Siakam right now with Nemhard here, with Mathurin here.
Yeah, I think my issue with Siakam is the usage is going down a little bit. Like he's obviously still going to get a lot of shots up with Mathurin there. And then the ball handling role is not as strong too with Nemhard there. And you have a healthy McConnell. And plus it's like against Cleveland. I don't know. I won't completely rule it out, but I think it's tough to make a good argument for playing Siakam on this slate.
Yeah, like he's one of those guys where like if he ends up in a lineup, you don't freak out because Pascal Siakam's going to play 35 minutes in a competitive game, and like there's no reason he can't be a real dude. But like you start comparing him to everyone else, and it's just like, well, no, he's just not going to look that good,
right?
And like these guys look way worse on FanDuel than they do on DraftKings. The highest owned guy in this game is Evan Mobley. at 10%. Everybody else is single digits. I'm not going to round Donovan Mitchell up Arkansas style like Austin Reeves. He gave it his best shot. There's no ownership on the FanDuel side. The only thing that's going to change this is if we get like wholesale, all these questionable guys end up out. But for right now, it doesn't seem like people are going to go to this game on the FanDuel side. But we have more DraftKings games to talk about and more games in general to talk about. But again, these first couple aren't going to look good. Speaking of, the Brooklyn Nets also 14.5-point underdogs in Boston. But the difference between this game and the previous game is that this total's like 15 points lower. Apparently, I still checked Indy. Let's get that off of there. Yeah, highest owned guy in this game is 8% to Michael Porter Jr. We did sneak Zaire Williams just over the 10% mark for optimal, but this game is fully unowned. Do you have any interest in anything here?
Yeah, I think those top three guys for Boston are in play. Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Peyton Pritchard. None of them really stand out at their salaries, like 7.5 for White, 9K for Brown, and 6.8K for Pritchard. They don't stand out as like amazing point per dollar plays, but they are viable on this slate because they're playing Brooklyn, and Brooklyn's defense is so bad. And if the game does stay competitive, you would think like at least one of those guys is having a pretty good game. So those top three guys for Boston, I think, are all guys you can mix in tournaments. No one I'm going to go crazy with, though, as far as the Boston main guys. You did see like the minutes for Walsh are a little bit up and down. I know he was in some foul trouble last game. Like they kind of ride the hot hand with like him and Minot. I don't think that's really something I want to try to take a shot on in this slate. So I'll probably just avoid that. Kada is, playable, but he's only center eligible. We do have a lot of really good center plays, which we'll talk about. So I think it's kind of tough to make the argument for him. And then on the Brooklyn side, like the price point is up on Michael Porter Jr. Obviously, he is the guy with the highest ceiling, leading the team in usage, has, a bigger ball handling role too. 7 assists in each 2 of the last 3 games. So he's playable. I think Nick Claxton is playable too. Those are 2 guys that if the game does stay competitive, you're probably seeing the, mid 30s minutes or so. And then the last guy I'll mention is unowned Day'Ron Sharp. He is a good point per minute player. I know we talk about that a lot in the streams, but he is someone that has been closing blowouts. So if you think this game does get out of hand, I think you can, take a shot at him at no ownership. But yeah, overall, pretty unappealing game for DFS.
Do you want to have the Zaire Williams experience at 4K, small forward, power forward, 7% owned, and playing weird minutes over the last 3?
Yeah, his minutes have been solid recently. 36, 30, 27 in a blowout last game. So I think he's in consideration. Again, it is an early game. We're still waiting on some news, possibly more value opening up, but I think he's viable. Again, the downside though is just the early game. And like I said, possibility of getting more value here.
Yeah, I just look at him and then I look at Jaylen Tyson. It's like, yeah, I get it's $900, but those guys really that different? Because I think Zaire Williams is just going to play one way or the other. But either way, that game just looks awful. There's no other way to hash it out. Like it's got a low total. It's got a team with a terrible offense. There's not a lot to hash out for Brooklyn and Boston. It's slightly better on FanDuel just because of the way FanDuel works. Derek White's 15% owned. Jaylen Brown's 15% owned. Peyton Pritchard gets to 10, but MPJ at 5 is the highest owned guy that I haven't mentioned yet. It's not just FanDuel. Like no one's getting to this game, and I don't know why you would with any sort of priority. Like, yeah, do I think that Derek White could smash this Brooklyn team? Of course. But it could just as easily be Jaylen Brown and Peyton Pritchard. And right there, I'm like cutting these guys into thirds.
Right.
I hate it.
Someone asked about Simons. Yeah, I think Simons is someone you can mix in tournaments as well. The minutes have been a little bit up and down on him, but he's 4,400. So he's one of like many value plays that are in play, but like don't really stand out.
Yeah, not a great game. Not a great game. That's a 7:30 start, by the way. Another 7:30 start is a very different game for DFS purposes. That's going to be the Washington Wizards and the Toronto Raptors. And now we're starting to get some ownership. We've got 40% of it, in fact, to Jakob Poeltl. Got about 30 for Keshon George, 20 to 25 on Scotty Barnes and Emmanuel Quickly, 20 more for Alex Sarr, 15 for Jamal Shed and Brandon Ingram and RJ Barrett and Bilal Coulibaly. We got a lot going on in this game, but I think we probably should start with the fact that Alex Sarr is questionable and Marvin Bagley is doubtful. If it breaks correctly, Tristan Vukcevic is going to go from 5% owned to 500% owned. Those guys both end up out. Start wherever you want here because there's a lot going on.
Yeah, so I guess we could start there. Vukcevic would probably be your top value play if Sarr doesn't play, just because he's like their only other big. I think you probably would see Anthony Gill in the rotation as kind of like your backup, or they could play some small ball. But yeah, he would be like a top value play if Sarr gets ruled out. He's already in play, but I think he's someone that probably, if Sarr plays, probably would close if the game gets out of hand. So yeah, he's in play already, but obviously becomes probably your top value play at the slate if Sarr gets ruled out. But yeah, Poeltl right now is pulling away with the ownership pushing for close to 50%, 5.6K. I mean, he is underpriced, right? He's right now he's kind of priced as if he's playing like 24 minutes a game, and he's playing like over 32 and 33 minutes over the last couple of games. Clearly no limit on him. Love the matchup, obviously, for Poeltl. So yeah, he is someone I think you definitely play in cash games. One of the top point per hour plays right now on the slate. Again, we do have a lot of good centers, so he's definitely not someone you have to play in tournaments, but projects really well here. And basically like everyone on Toronto does just because of the matchup. Quickly, Barnes, Ingram, Barrett, all getting ownership, as you mentioned. Quickly, I think is probably the preferred option of that group for me, just because the price point. Roll's been solid. There has been more overlap too with him and Jamal Shed. So you've been seeing a little bit, a little bit of a minutes bump for Quickly as well as Jamal Shed. Shed at 3.4K, I think is viable. There have been games where he has closed blowouts as well. I don't think it's a lock that he will, but that is something that he has done in the past. So basically the whole Toronto starting five plus Jamal Shed, I think are all pretty good plays here. And then even in like a large field tournament, I think Muklashvili is interesting here. Again, no CMB, so you're going to get the 48 center minutes with him and Jakob Poeltl. If Poeltl does get in foul trouble, something weird happens, obviously it's Muklashvili that's benefiting, leverage play there with him basically being unknown and Poeltl being massive chalk. So I think he's viable in a large field tournament. So yeah, overall, I think Toronto is definitely one of your better teams to get to on the slate.
Yeah, they're tough to ignore. I think Poeltl's just the easiest guy to want to get to, and I'm not surprised to see that ownership. I'm just always so terrified to try to hash out Quickly Barnes, Ingram, and Barrett. Like I never. If you're gonna have such like wild, disparate ownership for these guys, like I'm just more interested in RJ Barrett, and I don't have a reason for it. Just because I don't trust anything that's here. Legitimately, I think Brandon Ingram is my favorite Raptor that isn't Jakob Poeltl, but I don't really have a preference. Like I'd like to just have one of these guys in pretty much everything I'm doing. Because Washington, they're one of the fastest teams in the league. They're the worst defense in the league. This is as good of a DFS matchup as you could find. I find it hard to pick any one individual, but I want to have Toronto.
Yeah, I think we're in agreement there. I think I want to try to get to at least one of these guys for sure.
And then for Washington, Keshon George, quite popular. How do you feel about that? 6,100 shooting guard only. I don't think he's played a single second of shooting guard in his life.
Yeah, definitely not a shooting guard. The minutes have been really good for Keshon George recently. Last 3 games, averaging about 35 minutes per game, averaging over 50 passes made, 10.7 potential assists per game in those games. So he's like their primary playmaker right now, playing big minutes in competitive games. The ownership, maybe it feels a little bit high, but if this game does stay competitive, you probably are seeing a pretty big game from Keshon George there. So I like the upside in him a good amount. If Alex Sarr gets rolled out too, I think that would look a little bit better for Keshon George too. Just because Vukcevic is not the same player as Alex Sarr. The rest of Washington, there's no one else that that I'm really looking to get to. I mean, can you get to like Koulibaly or CJ McCollum? Sure. I do think that, again, if Alex Sarr gets ruled out, there's a possibility they run some small ball. So maybe it would benefit a guy like Koulibaly. But yeah, not a ton else. Again, keep an eye on the Alex Sarr news. And then if Alex Sarr plays himself, I think he's a solid tournament play. Reasonable ownership right now, 7,100. We've seen some big games from him. So yeah, if he's in, I think he's definitely someone you can consider for sure.
I don't think I have anything else. I'm going to pull up the FanDuel side of this one so we could hit that end as well. So we grab Toronto and Washington because it's a little bit different. We don't have the breakaway ownership on FanDuel like we have for Jakob Poeltl. He's 15% owned. It's a lot to do with the fact that there's only one center spot on FanDuel. And then we're just bunching these guys up. 20% ownership for RJ Barrett, Scotty Barnes, and Emmanuel Quickly. Brandon Ingram comes in at 10. And it's just like, how do you do anything with that? How do you look at RJ Barrett, Scotty Barnes, and Emmanuel Quickly all at the same ownership, basically the same optimal, and think like, oh, I like that guy? I don't know what to do with those guys. I feel like every time I'm going to roster a Toronto dude, I'm just going to be pissed off because the other guy goes crazy.
Yeah, Toronto they're tough to pick between for like single entry players for sure.
And this is as good of a spot as they can get. So I want to have something, but you're very likely to roster Scotty Barnes and have it be a Brandon Ingram day just because it's random. So think about that while you're building these lineups. And now we can think about games that don't have 2 touchdown lines, which is incredibly helpful. Like the Heat and the Bulls, which is probably the best DFS game that we can get right now. It's a decent enough Miami defense, a not that good Chicago defense, and 2 of the 4 fastest teams in the league. Not to mention, we're missing some bodies. Andrew Wiggins not playing here. Nikola Jovic not playing in this one. And that's getting us 40% of Pelle Larsson, 30% of Jaime Jaquez, 17 of Fontecchio, 15 more for Powell, 10 for Bam, for Davion Mitchell, for Drew Smith. How do you want to handle Miami today?
Yeah, so I think Miami is probably my favorite team to get to right now. Great matchup, super high total, as you mentioned, and they're shorthanded. So I guess first question for me is, who do you think starts here with Wiggins out? Do you think they go with a bigger lineup and go like Khalil Ware, or do you think they maybe go someone like Fontecchio?
I think it's going to be Jaquez.
Oh, you think?
I wouldn't be surprised if it's Fontecchio. It would really surprise me if they go double big. We've got it as Jaquez right now. Okay. I don't think they're going to go double big because Jovic isn't healthy. Because if they go double big, then someone has to be playing backup center, and I don't think they don't really have it. So I think Khalil Ware is just going to be like pretty much Bam's exclusive backup, and then a couple extra minutes if possible. I'd be surprised if they go a different direction, but like realistically they could. But my expectation along with the site is Jaquez.
Okay. Yeah, I could definitely see Jaquez. The only thing is, like, it just seems like no matter what, they just like bringing him off the bench, like no matter who's in, who's out. So yeah, keep an eye on that starting lineup. I don't think it's like massive deal who starts, just because again, I'm expecting a pretty tight rotation here. So we have like 8 guys for sure in the rotation, and then you're probably going to see one of these younger guys play a little bit, is my guess. But yeah, so looking at, I guess we'll talk about just Miami first. It's Larson getting the most ownership, around 40%. So he's been, usually in the mid to high 20s minute range, but I think with Wiggins out, with Jovic out, his minutes are a bit more secure. Would not be surprised if he plays low, even mid 30s minutes. So he projects as a really good value play at a small forward position that's relatively weak. So totally understand why he's getting a lot of ownership. Jaquez at 7K, whether he starts or not, I think is a good play. Ball handling role has been really solid for Jaquez. So over the last 5 games, he's averaging over 70 passes made per game and 11 potential assists. It's basically him and it's Davion as your 2 playmakers right now for Miami. He's got guard forward eligibility. So Jaquez looks good even at 7K. Fontecchio at 3,500, I think is a pretty good value play. Again, I think there's a there's a chance he could possibly start, but either way, he's going to have to play a little bit more. Like Fontecchio, Norm Powell in the mid-teens in ownership, I'm kind of indifferent on. But obviously a guy with a ceiling. Bam Adebayo not getting a ton of ownership. I want to keep an eye on the news. I know they monitored his minutes. He played 29 minutes in a competitive game there, but there's definitely a chance he just comes out, plays full minutes because it's the NBA Cup and you get like 36 minutes of Bam. And if that's the case, then yeah, I like Bam a lot in tournaments. So I'm going to keep an eye on the news there with Bam Adebayo. Davion and Drew Smith, the 2 point guards at around 10%, I think are both solid plays. I think you might get a little bit of overlap with Smith and Davion just because how shorthanded they are. I think Khalil Ware is completely unowned. I think I would only play him if they do go the double big lineup. If he comes out the bench, I'm just not confident enough in the minutes. But if he starts, if they do go that double big lineup, then I think he is someone you can mix in tournaments. But yeah, overall, I think Miami and Toronto are probably your two top teams to get to on the slate.
We got to talk about Chicago now because they have a possibility to be like next level stupid. And I don't know what to do with these guys. Trey Jones, questionable. Kobe White, questionable. Josh Giddey, 25% owned. Do you like a 25% owned Josh Giddey if those two guys play?
It feels a little bit high for Giddey. So I'm pretty sure Kobe White's going to play here and then sit tomorrow.
Yeah.
Why
would he play tomorrow?
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure they're going to want him to play here in the NBA Cup game. And so, yeah, if both the guys are in, the ownership does feel high on Giddey. Now it's again, good matchup, really high total, but the issue is the minutes are down on Giddey with this team getting healthier, right? And I'm expecting Kobe White to play. Like he only played 31 minutes against Portland. He played 30 minutes against Denver. He played 42 minutes in a double overtime game, so 32 minutes in regulation. So can Josh Giddey put up a performance that you need in like 30 minutes? He can, but it's a little bit less likely because for a while he was averaging like 35 plus minutes. If both those guys are in, I think the ownership is high on Giddey, but he's not out of play just because of the 250 total basically. But the rest of this team, I think it's really hard to get to. Kobe White, 7,400. I think he could push for like 30 minutes, but I don't think I can go to him on this slate. Vucevic at 8K, I think it's tougher to get to as well. So I think it's really just Giddey, and that's it. Just looking at the salaries here.
Yeah, I mean, you can see it. Josh Giddey, 25% owned. Next highest guy from Chicago is 2.5. And I don't even like the 25 on Giddey. Yeah. And it has nothing to do with him, but like he's just not a $9,500 player if those guys are in. He's like an $8,500 player. And now he's still chalky? Like if Trey Jones is just playing and Kobe White's playing, he doesn't have the same anything that he has right now. Mm-hmm. Everything changes. It's the weirdest one for me. I just don't get it. Sure as shit, he's going to go out there and have like a 20, 15, and 10 game.
Yeah.
It just makes no sense.
I think we're in agreement there that the ownership is high. I think it will come down if both those guys get rolled in, but it'll be interesting to see where that lands.
Now, on the FanDuel side, we're looking at about 35% ownership to Jaime Jaquez. We're looking at about 35% ownership to Josh Giddey. We got about 30 to Pelle Larsson. All of those pieces make a ton of sense, especially if Jaquez is starting. We got about 15 on Powell, Drew Smith, Bam Adebayo. But like it's kind of the same setup. Like you're not getting to any other Chicago. I guess Vooch is like a little bit more interesting than he is on DraftKings, but nothing crazy. It's just all around the Miami side. Do you look at this game any differently if those two Chicago guys are out?
If both of them are out, obviously I would have a lot more interest in Giddey because then I think he probably would be in that like 35-minute range. I think like Io would be in play for me. He's been around 25 minutes or so off the bench. I think that would probably push to around 30 minutes as kind of like your secondary playmaker there for Chicago. So I think he would be in play. But the price points are still not amazing on guys like Herder or Buzelis or even Vooch. So I think if both of them are out, probably Io would be the guy I would look to.
I think the one thing you guys should look to is the Tails app. You can download that via the link in the description of this video. And really, we're just kind of trying to make it easier for you to find bets, parlays, pick'em slips, DFS coverage. We're just making it easier for you to get to that information faster. You want to just go on to Tails, peruse the free picks feed, and just get that information. You can do that. It's not going to cost you anything. Maybe you want to subscribe to friend of the program, DK. You can do that. Or Lindy, or countless others if you want to do that. You can subscribe to people individually, or you can just follow them and get their free plays if you want. This will cost you nothing to download. The link is in the description. But if you do, we would love for you guys to maybe leave a review in the App Store, maybe something like 5 stars if that's available to you. I don't want to put that thought in your head, but if you like it, do that. But hit that link in the description. It's just going to help you out. I know you want this information. If you're watching this show right now, there's no reason you wouldn't want to download Tails.
So we got some news. Both Sarr and Bagley are out, and the Cleveland guys are all on track to play.
There we go. Tristan Vukcevic, come on down. That legitimately changes the entire slate.
Yep. Yeah, because he's, probably going to be like, 60, 70% owned, something crazy like that.
Well, let's think about it like this. The highest owned cheap guy right now is $4,100 Pell Larson at 40. He's going to project better than that at a lower price tag. At 45, 40 is a minimum, and I think 60 something to 70 something is very, very real. That changes everything. Changes the entire scope of the slate. Get excited. We'll pull that data up whenever we get that update. So get ready for that. Ooh, you know what would be helpful? Maybe I should plug my laptop in before this thing just shuts off in the middle of the stream. I looked up and it was like 21% battery and hemorrhaging quickly. Now everything's bright and looks better, much better. Had no idea.
That's happened
Didn't
to
even
me
realize
before
I
too.
didn't have it.
Because I always have my laptop plugged in, and I look up and I'm like, oh shoot, I'm like 4%. I got to plug this in before it dies.
You want to talk about a really good basketball game today?
I'm assuming we're talking about New Orleans and Dallas.
The New Orleans Pelicans and Dallas Mavericks combined for 6 wins this year, 6-25. Mavs are 4-point favorites. There's one major talking point in this game at this moment, and that is the fact that Derek Queen is 45% owned at 5,500, power forward, center eligible. We have additional stuff to talk about in this game, whether that's D'Angelo Russell being questionable, obviously AD out, Cooper Flagg's available. What do you want to do with Queen here?
Yeah, so I like Queen a lot as a value option. Obviously, he's getting a ton of ownership. Had a massive game last game, going for over 50 fantasy points. Maybe going a little bit over owned, but still projects as one of the better values on the slate. And the role is solid, really solid for him. He led the team in potential assists, had 11 potential assists last game. So they're running offense through him, even with Zion in. I think Queen, he's got the power forward eligibility too, is a really good play. Maybe going a little bit over owned, but stands out as, like I said, one of the better values. What are you going to do with Derek Queen? Do you think the ownership's right?
I think it's going to come down a little bit now with this Vukcevic news, at least a little bit. It does feel disproportionately high for a guy that has pretty high variance in what he's doing. Or running a lot of shit through him. Now, I don't know how much that changes when Zion's around regularly, which starts to concern me a little bit. But the $5,500 price tag is just not problematic enough. And unless he's in aggressive foul trouble or just making mistake after mistake, I don't think he's going to like play 14 minutes anytime soon. Mm-hmm. I think he's just going to no matter what the game is doing, he's kind of going to be out there. So you do feel a little bit better there. But whatever that 45% number isn't going to be 45% in our next update just because of Vukcevic. Darius Garland and Jaylen Tyson will have a minutes limit what is the if they play?
Okay.
Sure.
So we got the report 10 minutes ago. They're all on track. So that makes it hard to get to I think any of the Cleveland value now with those guys in, but like on a limit.
Angelo, I see where you're going with that, but I promise you that Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford can slow down Derek Queen right now. Maybe that's not for the future, but he's still a rookie. And like Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford are just better than him. They can slow him down pretty easily. That said, he could just do a bunch of shit because he's going to have the ball in his hands. But yeah, like the front court for Dallas is still pretty good with Flag, PJ Washington, Gafford, and Lively. That's real. That's like that's the only real part of the Mavs.
For sure.
The rest of it's pretty garbage. The rest of it's pretty heavy garbage. Let's pull up this Pelicans Dallas game. Actually, well, I mean, I guess we have more to talk about here.
Yeah.
Do you like anything else in this game? And like whatever side of it you want is fine. It's just to see a 10%ers. Fears, Zion, Flag, PJ, Trey Murphy. I don't love a lot here. I do kind of feel like Cooper Flag's going underrepresented.
Yeah, so I'm kind of indifferent on Cooper Flag. 6.9K, in a competitive game, you're probably seeing 35 minutes. I think he's totally fine to get to, at a small forward position. That's, again, relatively weak. I think pretty big news is D'Angelo Russell. Again, he was late addition to the injury report, questionable with an illness. Kind of leans slightly out. I would say like 60-40 out. And if he gets ruled out, I would like Brandon Williams a lot in tournaments. Right now, he's not getting much ownership. The minutes on Brandon Williams have been a little bit up and down. He's not a guarantee to close if D'Angelo Russell plays. But if D'Angelo Russell misses, I think the minutes are way more secure on Brandon Williams. The ball handling role has been really solid for him as the primary playmaker. I like the matchup. So he's someone that I think is pretty sneaky right now at like 3% ownership. And again, I would feel a lot more confident in him if D'Angelo Russell gets rolled out. So I'm keeping an eye on that for sure. Zion played about 30 minutes in his first game back. I think you're probably going to see around that for him, 8,500. It doesn't make him completely out of play, but definitely not standing out as like an amazing point dollar option. Jeremiah Fear is getting around 10%. Is just like, whatever. I'm indifferent on that. The centers for Dallas, I think, are a little bit tougher to get to with how many good centers we do have. You did see Lively move in the starting lineup last game. However, minutes didn't really tick up. I think you're probably seeing like around 20 minutes for Lively, which I think makes it pretty tough to go there. So I think that's probably it for me with this game.
I got one more for you.
Okay.
Deep cut, though. Deep cut.
Okay.
If D'Angelo Russell doesn't play, is there anything in Jaden Hardy?
So I'm glad you brought that up because I do think you can consider him in large field tournaments. He's 3,500.
And that's only if Russell is out.
Yes.
I want to be very clear here.
But yeah, I think he would be playable. Jaden Hardy is a guy that is not afraid to shoot. He's been seeing some rotation minutes, and I think he would basically play the backup point in that scenario. And I think he's someone that would be viable in tournaments.
Yeah, I just look at it like they don't have any loyalty to Brandon Williams if he's not playing well and Russell's out. Like, there's nothing that stops Jaden Hardy from being good early in the game and then taking Brandon Williams minutes late. Those guys are basically the same guy to Dallas in this moment. So if it's going one way or the other, I think they might reward that hot hand. I'm interested in him because I don't think he's going to get a single bit of love, but 3,500 point guard, shooting guard. I wanted to shout him out a little bit.
Yeah, someone brought up Najee Marshall in the chat. I think it's tougher to get to him with Cooper Flag in. He's projected for like 0.1% ownership. I think it's pretty hard to make the argument for Najee on this slate.
On the FanDuel end, we've got about 25% ownership for Zion and Derek Queen. I mean, the Zion one scares the shit out of me, but he's 8K. So like, I don't think that price is crazy. Queen still scares me. PJ Washington is 16. Everybody else is single digits. Again, you tend to see these FanDuel guys. It just congregates around the best players on each team, more or less, when it comes to ownership. So I'm not surprised to see this stuff, but I don't see anything on FanDuel that like is taking me in a different direction. Like, they're all the same. There's not a different take here. Yeah, S&P, I'm with you there. He said, I was just typing about Hardy, but I don't really think he's necessary on this slate with the Vooch value already existing. Yeah, that's probably the case as we work our way through here. You're just finding other places to pay up. Hardy's the type of guy that like unlocks Jokic.
Yep.
That's really it. Couple more games to go on the DraftKings side. 540. Hit that like button if you haven't done it yet. Live before lock coming up next. We're not done at 6, folks. This goes all the way to 7 o'clock. Wolves Suns, sneaky decent game. The Suns oddly got rid of Kevin Durant, never get Jalen Green and are better. But, you know, that's what's happening here in this one. This is a tough game, DFS wise. 10% ownership to Randall, 10 to Booker, 10 to Edwards, 10 to Colin Gillespie. Are you seeing anything in this Minnesota Phoenix game that stands out to you? We're obviously waiting on the Q tag for Jaden McDaniels. Grayson Allen, Jalen Green, both already out. I don't, even if Jaden McDaniels is out, I don't think we're creating a bunch of stuff here.
Yeah, so if McDaniels is out, I want to keep an eye on the starting lineup. I know it was Conley that started last game. I think there's a chance that Jalen Clark could start if McDaniels gets rolled out, but either way, I don't think I would have a ton of interest in either of those guys. I think there's better value on this slate. I do have interest though in the main guys here from Minnesota. Anthony Edwards at 9,200, not getting a ton of ownership. This is a game that you think would stay competitive. In an NBA Cup game, I could definitely see Ant push for like 40 minutes. So I like the upside there on Anthony Edwards. Front court guys, I think, are all in play here. Randall, 8,600. Gobert, 6K. Naz Reid's been playing really well, 5,900. Minnesota, as they've been basically doing all year, running a tight rotation. So, and this game, like I said, should stay competitive. So those top 4 guys, I think, are all, guys you can mix in. I don't think there's any priorities here for Minnesota, but I think all 4 of those guys are certainly in play. DiVincenzo getting about 5% ownership is, fine. I'm indifferent there. There's not much ownership going to the Phoenix side. Devin Booker, sub 10% owned, I think is certainly in play for tournaments. Would expect, high 30s minutes from him in a competitive game. He's got the ball in his hands a ton, and we know he has a pretty high ceiling. Don't really think I can get to like Mark Williams. The minutes haven't been great for him. Don't love the matchup. So I'll probably pass in the front court there. Gillespie is the one other guy getting some ownership around 10%, 5,800. Pretty consistently playing mid to high 20s minutes off the bench. So solid point per hour play. Don't have a ton else to add there. I think it's tough to make the argument for like Dylan Brooks at his price point or Royce O'Neal or anyone else on Phoenix. So overall, I'll say that there's no standouts in this game, but I do think this game's kind of sneaky for tournaments just because there's not a lot of ownership. And I think both teams could run a pretty tight rotation, especially Minnesota.
Should Naz Reid really be 3% if Derek Queen's 100?
Yeah, I like that. I like that shout as a pivot. Similar price point. Again, the minutes have ticked up a bit on Naz, and it's certainly possible they run the 3 big lineup. I know they haven't really been doing that a ton, but we have seen it a couple times for Minnesota over the last couple of years. I like the shout there on Naz as a pivot off Queen. The ceiling's pretty high on him, and he's gone for 40 plus fantasy points in 3 of the last 4 games. So
yeah. Like relatively comparable minutes on an average basis here. It's that disparity stands out to me. Like when you see it, when you find these situations where you see 2 guys that like don't feel like it's right, that's where you start like it turns those dials in my head. And I'm just like, look, if Naz Reid's 3%, I should have 12 and like a little bit less of Derek Queen. I don't know. That's where I'm at.
I think
keep your eye on Naz
really
Reid.
good shout out. Yeah.
The problem is it feels chasey because he's been good lately. And like, that's not why I'm saying it. It's just because like those guys are close to each other on the spectrum, but it's frustrating in that way. I don't know. On the FanDuel end, about 20% for Colin Gillespie. It's always wild to see a bench guy be the highest owned dude in a game. 15 for Booker, 10 for Brooks, nothing else. This kind of makes me more interested in Minnesota on the FanDuel. They don't have the most advantageous pricing in the world, but the 4 highest owned guys in this game are all from Phoenix. That makes me mildly interested in Anthony Edwards or Julius Randle, but 9,500 and 9K, I can see why they're not owned. Those are big price tags. Like, I probably like Jaden McDaniels the most on FanDuel from these guys, and I don't even know if he's going to play.
Yeah, he's got a decent salary there on FanDuel. His role's been good recently. Shot attempts have been very solid. He's been playing really well. So yeah, I think he's definitely in play again. Decent salary there over on FanDuel.
Alrighty, folks, it is 5:45. I'm saying that with 3 seconds to go before the time changes. But otherwise, I'm glad you guys are here. Hit the like button if you haven't done it yet. We've got one more game on the DraftKings slate. We've got 2 more games overall. Greg is already here, ready for live. He's so excited. He got to live before lock 14 minutes early. That's how excited he is to tell you guys about what we have going on for the rest of the day. Reward Greg's earliness with a hit of that thumbs up. That would be great. Are you ready to talk about the best game on the slate and it's not even close?
Let's do it. I'm excited to watch this game.
So am I. Is it a great DFS game today? Not really. But is it a great basketball game? You're damn right. These are, you could tell me these are the 2 best teams that aren't Oklahoma City right now, and I think that's a very reasonable way to look at this. We're getting 20% ownership to Alperen Şengün. We're getting 20% ownership to Steven Adams. We're getting 13 to Alperen Şengün. We're not really getting any ownership to anybody else otherwise. Christian Brown, obviously out. Steven Adams, Jabari Smith, both questionable. That could change the way this game looks, both from a how much I want to watch it and a how much I roster it perspective. They're going to go in opposite directions for that. Let's just start at the top here. If Steven Adams plays, what do you want to do at 4,100?
Yeah, so Steven Adams, if he starts again, I think would be a pretty good option. He played 28 minutes in that start. He definitely feels underpriced if he's in and starts. So, I like Steven Adams. If he does not start, then or if he does not play, I should say, then I think you can consider Capella like in a large tournament. He's the flat min price. I don't think they would start Capella, but I think he would play the backup 5 and would be in play. So that is pretty important news with the status of Steven Adams. I don't really have a lean right now. I was looking into the news. So don't have a strong lean on if Adams plays or not. Jabari Smith, I think, will play. He was questionable last game with the knee soreness, and he played. So I think he's going to play. But yeah, I like Houston a good amount here for tournaments. I expect them to run pretty tight rotation, probably 8-man rotation here. Yeah. It is the 2 centers getting a lot of love. It's Adams and then Şengün. Like I said, I think both are good options. Obviously love the upside there on Şengün, but I have more interest in Kevin Durant than 5%. The ball handling role for KD has been up a little bit recently, which is good to see. He's probably going to play about 38 minutes in a competitive game. So I feel like he's going a little bit overlooked right now. I think you can make the same argument for Amen Thompson. Now, Amen Thompson's been, pretty up and down, but we know that ceiling's there. He's a guy with triple-double upside for sure, getting no ownership. So those top 3 guys, Şengün, KD, and Amen Thompson, they're all pretty good tournament plays. I don't think there's a ton else. Oh, Reed Shepherd, 4,800. We talked about in the last stream, but his role has just been really solid, averaging like 25 minutes or so over the last 5 games. So definitely someone you can mix in. I think minutes would tick up a little bit on him as Steven Adams is out, just because they're just a little bit more shorthanded. So yeah, overall, I like Houston actually a good amount here for tournaments.
No disagreement there. I agree with everything that you just said. It's very interesting to look at this boom bust tool and see Houston. The highest owned guy for Denver today, 3.5%, $13,200 Nikola Jokic. What do we do here? Because it's not like he doesn't deserve that price. He deserves every single bit of it. This guy doesn't miss anymore.
Yeah, he had a subpar game last game. He fouled out and he still went for 60 fantasy points. So the ceiling is massive on Jokic. We do have more value now with Alex Sarr getting rolled out. So I have a feeling that ownership's going to tick up a little bit. And Jokic always seems to go to be more owned than what he's projected for. So I would not be surprised if you see Jokic push for 10, 15% or so on this slate. So I like Jokic if you can get to him. He's got a massive ceiling. And again, I don't expect that ownership to be too high there.
He's one of those guys where, especially because they typically play later games, it's just so much easier to not have him early and have to swap to it later. if you can, like if you have that ability. As value opens up, as you get news throughout the day, you might not have them now, but you start swapping to them because your lineup is like a quarter dead, and it's like, oh well, this is this low on guy that can go for 1,000 tonight. Maybe I should get that in my lineup and increase my ROI. But like, do you think you're getting to anything else from Denver? Because obviously, while he does not look good from an ownership or optimal perspective, no one is ever going to be like, yeah, you can't play Nikola Jokic tonight. Like, you're just going to come off sounding like a complete moron. It does feel like that. And it certainly feels like that for the rest of Denver, which is weird because they're shorthanded.
Yeah, you did see the big ceiling game for Peyton Watson last game against New Orleans, 55 fancy points. But with Aaron Gordon most likely back here, I think that, the upside definitely goes down on a guy like Watson. So don't think you should expect a repeat performance there. The price point is 8,500 on Jamal Murray. I think it's tough to make the argument for him on this slate with some other spend ups, just, or guys in that price range just projecting a lot better. The minutes have been solid for Cam Johnson of late, but his price is up to 5K. I don't really think it's necessary to go there. So I think it's basically just Jokic for me, and that's it.
So on the FanDuel side, it's even worse. I don't know why I just took Minnesota in this one. Let's try Houston out for that one. Denver's just not owned. Peyton Watson, 5%, whatever. Steven Adams, 13, but you only get one center, so it's not surprising to see him be less owned. Amin Thompson's 10, but it's all just minimal. It's all the same sort of story on FanDuel. Like, this is a great real game. It's just not that great of a DFS game. It's gross. But boy, oh boy, do I want to watch this bad boy, man. This is real good basketball. And have you looked into the standings of this particular group?
I think this game matters a lot for both teams.
Everybody in this group is 1-1.
Yeah.
Nuggets, Rockets, Spurs, Blazers, Warriors, all 1-1. You lose, you're out. Everything matters in these games. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that these guys play a little bit more in this game on both sides.
Yeah, glad you brought that up. You could
not to mention, like, they don't want to play more dudes either. Like, it plays into, like, these aren't teams that like to play extra bodies.
Right.
They're not cool. Like, I'm going to give Jeff Green 12 today. It's like, no, they're just going to play Şengün 40.
Right. You could definitely see like close to playoff rotations for both teams tonight.
Yeah.
Both teams already run it tight, but yeah, like if you see a couple extra minutes for like the star players, I don't think that would be surprising at all. So glad you brought that up.
So we got a couple minutes left, but we do have 2 more games left on the FanDuel side. DraftKings gave us the reprieve, but we've got the Thunder and the Jazz, which is exactly the game that you would think it would be. Thunder, Utah. We've got the Blazers and the Warriors. We did get the Blazers news earlier, so they are shorthanded once again. That is giving us 30% ownership to Jeremy Grant, 25 to Butler and Curry, about 10 to 15 on Draymond, Danny, SGA, Chet, Klingon, Caleb Love, Moses Moody. How are you feeling about these 2 late games? Is there anything that stands out to you?
Yeah, so I like the Portland side with them being shorthanded. They're going to run a pretty tight rotation, a competitive game. City Sissoko started last game. I think it's probably either him or Chris Murray that start here with both Shaedon Sharpe and Jrue Holiday out. But the role was insane for Denny. So he made 74 passes and had 28 potential assists last game. Absolutely insane. And he is their point guard with Jrue Holiday out. Jeremy Grant was next there with 9 potential assists. But I think there's a good amount to like here for the Portland side. So yeah, love the upside there on Denny. I think like the wings, Jeremy Grant, Kamara are fine. Klingon does worry me a little bit because of the matchup against Golden State. His minutes have ticked up recently just because they're shorthanded, but could definitely see him get played off the court here against more of a small ball team. So he's the one that's like a little bit iffy. Caleb Love shot 1 of 12 last game, but I think you can still consider him for value. I think if he shoots better, he could definitely play a little bit more. So I think the Portland side is the side I like the best on with these late 2 games.
Yeah, I don't have the same sort of confidence in this Butler, Curry, Draymond group that the ownership seems to see. Not that I don't think that they're individually fine. They kind of just feel like Toronto to me. I just have a lot of trouble carving out a particular name. I like the Denny shout. I mean, a $9,400 price tag feels woof, but he deserves it in his play style. It just feels weird because we're not used to it for his name. I mean, the biggest problem now is just like, how do we ever play OKC?
They're just
like, I kind of
out.
like Chet because it seems like his minutes aren't going anywhere, but they beat the shit out of everybody.
Right. And they've had a pretty easy schedule here, too. I feel like they're just playing like bad team after bad team, and it's just blowout after blowout after blowout.
It's like they don't even have to think about it. They just like they win by default.
Yep. So, yeah, and the price points like aren't like amazing on anyone in Oklahoma City either. Yeah. So that's kind of the tough part.
Not to mention, we would all be very, very surprised if this one is competitive late. I would not expect that much. But if I was going to somebody from OKC, I think it would be Chet. And more than anything for Chet, all the blowout in the world doesn't stop him from blocking 8 shots. And like, then he can just have an average regular performance, but he's Chet on defense and you can get there. Whereas I don't feel like everybody else has that same ability. I mean, in theory, anybody does, but he can disproportionately affect a game defensively and still be fine in these ass-beating blowout scenarios. Whereas I don't think that everybody else has that same sort of like wild ceiling. Because if they're going to beat the shit out of Utah, they probably do it because Utah scores like 85 points. That could happen a lot with Chet just erasing these dudes on a possession-by-possession basis. So he's the guy that I have my eye on. 12% owned. It's nothing crazy. If I'm getting to blow out OKC dudes, it's always Chet for me because I think he can affect the game differently.
That's fair. Do you have any interest in Utah? I think it's pretty hard to get to them on.
The highest owned Utah guy is Isaiah Collier on FanDuel at 2%. I think that tells the exact story you're looking for. Like, I think it's starting to become incredibly obvious to everybody that a matchup against Oklahoma City is just absolute death, which is not all that surprising when you look at their defensive rating on the season and find them to be on a completely different level than anybody. They're like 4 points away from second.
Yeah, their defense has been insane. I think you were talking about that on the show this morning.
Oh my God, it's even worse. They have a 103.1 defensive rating. Second is 109.7. They are They are beating everybody else on defense by 6.6 real points. If you add 6.6 points to Detroit, that's 116.3. I mean, that's like 19th in the league.
Right. That's crazy.
They're eviscerating everybody. And that becomes really tricky. But now it's 5:58, almost 5:59, which means this show is over, save for one thing. DK, tell the people where to find you.
Yeah, you guys can find me over on Tails. I do daily fantasy sports content. I do streams every day before lock, and then player prop stuff as well, pick'em stuff, sportsbook stuff. So if you guys are interested in that, check me out over on Tails.
I haven't asked this question before. Why no underscores?
Well, I did the underscores on Twitter because there was already a DK DFS, DK underscore DFS. I had to do 2
motherfuckers.
I know. What are the chances of that?
That feels unlikely. Do you? Oh, can you get them now? They're available, right? Old Twitter accounts that don't get used are available to take now. That's how Laffy ended up with Laffy now. He was Laffy underscore D for so long because some other random jerk off Laffy took it. But that guy didn't use his account. Now Laffy's Laffy.
You're right. So the DK underscore DFS hasn't tweeted since 2015.
You can probably get that right now if you want it.
Yeah. And the DK DFS hasn't tweeted since the 2017. So
unfortunately, you're shit out of luck. Tanner says, I already got both of yours, DK. Good game. But there you go. Hey, they're out there if you want them, brother. Just saying. Twitter's a free game. Look, I got Josh Engleman right out of the gate, but there's not a lot of people beating down the doors for this one. So what are you going to do? There are a couple people trying to beat down the doors of getting on to NBA Live before lock. That would be one Greg Ehrenberg and one Chris Spags. They're both here for Live Before Lock, which is the show that is happening right now. Spags doesn't seem like he wants to add himself to the show. Apparently a little shy.
I don't know that he can. I don't know if he has the kind of capability. Do you?
Yeah, because I'm logged into Jake Harry's
like mentally
account.
or physically?
I can do whatever Jake Harry can.
Well, potentially both. We do know he has the ability to end streams at his own whim, though.
That's also true.
Why has this become the shit on Spags portion of the show? Try to keep a positive
because this is the time where you did it. It's the only thing we have. It's our only gimmick.
How about DK? DK does. DK, you do something stupid at some point, right? He can't be just.
Nah, never, not once.
He's undefeated, undisputed. He's never lost a fight. He's never lost a round. Nothing.
Yep.
Wow.
There
never
it is.
Ended a stream
Fine. Carry on then, I guess.
Well, you guys can carry on with Live Before Lock. I'm going to carry on with not being on the show. So later, everybody.
See you guys.
Enjoy vacation,
Josh. Have a good night. And now it is time for NBA Live Before Lock. And there's only two people that I like to do the show with, to be honest. No, it's more than two people, but you're one of my favorite people that I like doing the show with. I see you've got your money hat on too. That means you mean business tonight.
I mean, I've always got the money hat on now, Greg, because it gets me into character to do these streams and get perked up here. But yeah, I'm excited to be here with you. And I feel like as the boss, though, you can't say you only like doing shows with two people, even as a joke. That's like an HR violation waiting to happen.
I could if I don't say which people they are.
Okay, fair. Well, we know there's one more out
works.
there that's still good.
Yeah, that's how the law works. And then there are certain people who are more sensitive than others who, then they have to wonder. And then they start to go, oh my God, should I be more prepared for shows? Should I be working harder?
Am I not hitting enough leans, lines, and locks? That's what that's what people might be asking.
Exactly. Somebody's sitting there going, oh my God, my likes, spits, and sweats, how are they going? How are those? See? And then people, they start to wonder. They start to wonder. Yeah, see right here, Russell Prime. Eric must be working in the street. He might be soon. He might be. He's got to mind his P's and Q's around here. But guys, do us a favor as you're coming in here. Like the video. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have not already. Spags and I have a 7-game slate to talk about on DraftKings, 9-game slate over on FanDuel. And I don't really understand why. To be honest, DraftKings didn't. I know that DraftKings will often lop off the games at the end of the slate, but when they've got the 9:30 games, why not just include the 10 p.m. games also at that point? So I actually prefer the way the FanDuel slate is set up. So I'm playing a little bit more on FanDuel for tonight. But this should be an interesting slate, Spags. I want to ask you right out of the gate, how many blowouts do we get today? Because we have 4 games on today's slate with a spread of 14.5 points or wider.
Yeah, it's weird. It definitely feels like the lines. I mean, obviously, you have the Thunder who are at that spread every day, no matter what it is. Yeah. But it does feel like NBA Cup lines that we're having the blowouts here, point differentials, teams maybe getting a little more aware of that as we get deeper into that process. So it is kind of crazy. I mean, for me, I think what the thing with NBA is like we see it kind of with the Thunder sometimes where even SGA finally played a fourth quarter last game. Blowouts aren't always blowouts. The moment like the game starts, like it sometimes take a little while to develop. You go through a slow first half like the Thunder have sometimes. You ramp it up the third quarter, the blowout kicks in the fourth quarter, and you still kind of get minutes, looking like they're supposed to. But some of these spreads today could just be that the team brings the starters back in, puts a little more points on them. Toronto, I think, is one in particular that feels like that could be the spot. So it's interesting to see for sure, because I really can't recall seeing, number one, a game as high of a total as Miami-Chicago. And number two, 4 games with really massive spreads. But that's welcome to 2025, guys. I was going to say a political joke, but I'm not going to. It's not worth it.
Talking about OKC and their spreads always being wide, I just kind of found this interesting looking at their games. Do you know the last time they won a game this season by less than 10 points?
Not at all.
October 28th. They beat the Kings
Houston
by
game, right?
6. Sorry, what was that?
I was thinking the Houston game. That's the first game of the year, so never mind.
Yeah, so they started the season with those back-to-back double overtime games against the Houston Rockets and the Indiana Pacers. Funny enough, they still beat the Pacers by 6, so they almost won that game by double digits, even though it went to double overtime. So they had some competitive games in the early going, and then they have just been steamrolling everybody. And here, the thing for opponents of the Thunder, it's only going to get worse. Jalen Williams hasn't played yet this year. And I like to occasionally, I'll look at the draft picks that OKC has accumulated from their trades over the years. Do you know that they have the Clippers first round pick unprotected this year?
Oh, that's not good. But I know they have a ton. I mean, that was part of the SGA deal, right, for Paul George. So they have a war chest, and frankly, I've talked about this with Josh before. It's like they have too many guys that they're already paying right now, and then if any of these guys develop, they're gonna have to figure out how to keep them and do some logistics to make that work. But they're really good. I mean, Josh mentioned it right before we came on the show here. The defensive efficiency they're giving up, 104 points per 100. Every other team in the league is like 113, 114, 115. They're just worlds better than everybody, and they're young, and it's only going to get worse from here. Wiggins too being out, like that doesn't help them either.
And then you've got, and there hasn't even been an update on, Eric and I were talking about this the other day. Jalen Williams was questionable for opening day, and I have not seen a single update on him really since then, other than they're like, yeah, he's going to be out for a little bit. And there's just kind of been nothing on him. So they've only lost one game the entire year. They're winning every game by like 15 plus points. And now they have the Clippers first round pick unprotected this year, and the Clippers suck. And they have a pick swap with the Clippers next year as well. There's a scenario where they get like 2 top 5. They can even get a first overall pick from the Clippers as poor as they're going. And Kawhi gets hurt, so they trade James Harden. Then you get a situation where not only are the Clippers currently bad, but they don't have a way to get better in the future either. Like they don't have draft picks, nor do they have salary cap space. So OKC, yeah, I don't even, maybe we get to a point even where it's like 3 years from now or something, and they're like, hey, per what you'd said, they're running out of cap space. And like, let's just trade Jalen Williams for more draft picks, because then we just sign our young guys to big deals and they just keep the build going forever. But either way, we've got a slate here to talk about. And as far as injuries go for today, we still have Kobe White is listed as questionable. Jaden McDaniels is questionable. Steven Adams is questionable. We also don't know if he's going to start or come off the bench, even if he's in. Jabari Smith is questionable. D'Lo is questionable with an illness. Trey Jones is questionable. So there's some names there, Spags, but no names that are like massively big names as of right now that are questionable. I'm wondering, are there any individual injury piece of news you're keeping your eye on? And it's fair if you say no, that you think could massively change your lineups for today.
I don't think it would massively change at this point. Like the Vukcevic one was the big one I was waiting for, because we had a doubtful Marvin Bagley after he played pretty well last game, filling in for Sarr. Sarr couldn't get back in today. Now Vukcevic at 3,200, I think, is the best value play we've had on a slate in a while. And it feels like we have these a lot, but I think we're getting better chalk value today as opposed to the Will Richard kind of chalk value from a few days ago. But I think the D'Angelo Russell one matters a little bit. I'm sure you love this one, Greg, because this is the kind of thing you enjoy. But the fact the report comes out like, his teammates kind of hate him and he's sucking at practice. And it's like D'Angelo Russell downgraded, questionable with an illness. It's such a classic NBA thing. But that one kind of matters for usage, because like Russell sucks, but he has been putting up shots.
He's listed as questionable. So maybe he's listed as questionable with an illness. So maybe he's just sad that his teammates don't like him per reports. And they're just like, hey, can't guarantee that he's going to be able to go today. With that said, also, he's been terrible. Brandon Williams is clearly outplaying him this year. D'Lo has just not been the fit in Dallas. And I know that Nico Harrison's gone. I actually think the D'Lo signing was a pretty good low risk, high reward one on his part, just because they needed a point guard. D'Lo has been decent in the past. They were clearly very thin on point guards. His value was about as low as it could possibly be. So they got him on a very cheap deal. It just doesn't really matter because he's been terrible this year. And like you said, his teammates apparently hate him. So, we're hearing in chat.
Jared Allen out.
I saw Jared Allen was ruled in before.
So they said they were on track to play, but I guess Jared Allen, the track got off. So his finger can't make him go today.
All right. So let's talk about that, because that is true. The word we got earlier was that Darius Garland, Jaylen Tyson, and Jared Allen were all on track to play. Although I still think that they were upgraded to in like 30 minutes ago. Maybe I'm just misremembering that. But either way, Jared Allen, for me at least, an unexpected scratch, because it seemed like he was on track to play. So let's bring up the pricing here for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And is this going to open up anything significant in your opinion? So we've got Jared Allen, $5,800. We had him projected for 26 minutes. Is this creating any kind of value situations that stand out to you?
I think it depends who's starting here would be part of it. I mean, Mobley was a guy I was a little bit under the field on, and I think now he's going to, I'll be with the field on him, and the field's going to be there even more. Mobley was expected for 22% ownership. I was getting 17. I think now both those numbers will go up meaningfully. I would guess if you get, do you get Thomas Bryant starting at 3K? Because I think that could be something that would matter. My guess is you would just get Mitchell, Mobley, Garland, Hunter, plus like Tomlin, Wade, somebody like that. But if you got a weird starter, it would help. I think it mostly just helps the core rotational guys look better, in a spot as well that Cleveland maybe puts up some heavy points because of the NBA Cup stuff. I think that's something as well that just makes the stars look better. But if you get a surprise starter, I think then I'll be more open-minded. I think it mostly just makes Mobley, to me, look a lot more secure than he did before.
By the way, Jared Allen, I just checked. Jared Allen was ruled in about 35 minutes ago. So this is a quite the turn by the Cleveland Cavaliers, trying to get into the real spirit of the NBA season. So I do tend to think that Thomas Bryant's going to start unless they just go small and move Evan Mobley over to center, because we know that even though he's in like Darius Garland, although now how the hell do we take anything that Cleveland says seriously? But they did tell us, we heard from reports that Jaylen Tyson and Darius Garland were both going to be playing limited minutes. So I think it's going to be Thomas Bryant that starts at center. Just my best guess. Doesn't have to be the case. It doesn't make him like a slam dunk play or anything like that, but I definitely think it brings him into play at 3K. The real issue with Thomas Bryant, just center only eligible. And we've got somebody like Vucevic, who you already brought up before, who is just in a crazy good spot because of how thin Washington is in the front court. We've got for the Washington Wizards, and just to reiterate, I know that Spags already said this, but no Alex Sarr and no Marvin Bagley for Washington. So Thomas Bryant, even if he's going to potentially be a fringe play, it's going to be hard to say he's a better option than Vucevic, who has pretty minimal competition for minutes in Washington.
Yeah, I think for me, like Vucevic, there's no other bigs on Washington really. For Cleveland, Thomas Bryant last game, is against Houston, so you kind of want double bigs out there. They played Thomas Bryant 4 minutes in the first half, a little bit less than that actually. Didn't go back to him in the second half. They had Dean Wade playing pretty meaningful minutes in the second half, so it's definitely possible Bryant starts. I don't think he'd be anywhere near to me. Like, I think Vucevic is a lock button play. I think Thomas Bryant comes with significant minutes risk here, just because how Cleveland runs their rotations.
Yeah, and we'll see what that starting lineup looks like when it comes. And one other thing that I have to ask you as we start to answer some people's questions and have more news that comes in. We've got Vucevic right now, 82% projected ownership over on DraftKings at $3,200. Over on FanDuel, even with the more options on the slate, he's the flatman, $3,500 and 67.63% owned. So 2/3 of the field playing Vucevic at center over on FanDuel. Relative to his ownership, are you going to be with the field, underweight to the field, or overweight to the field with Vucevic in your best estimation?
So in the semi round before the show, I was getting Vucevic at about 95% with Stokastic data. For my own data, was getting him about 91. For me, practically, I might just lock him because I think that's close enough to me. And I love him as a player. He's the kind of guy that I generally find to be fun, contributes some rebounds, good usage, can get you some blocks. But also a little bit of assist upside for a big man, which is sort of the Şengün recipe on the highest level, the Jokic recipe. But I think for Vucevic, the big thing is like, I just don't know. They haven't had another center in the rotation. Like Vucevic himself has barely been in the rotation. So I think he's just going to get, at least mid-20s minutes, outside shot at high 20s minutes. And against Toronto, I'm just not particularly worried about the matchup. So I'm cool with rolling with Vucevic. I'm sort of locked, a lot of the Memphis guys yesterday and Bogdanovic was just like, cool, I'm just going to roll with this. And I had like good lineups even with that. So I do play that a little bit faster and looser than some people in chat may want to. But I think to me, Vucevic just looks like a classic lock.
Yeah, to what you had mentioned before, he's barely played this year. He's only playing 7 minutes per game. We saw a little bit more run out of him last year. Last year, he played 14.5 minutes per game and averaged 17.5 fantasy points. This guy's a really good fantasy producer. Even if you want to say that, and here's what we have for our projection on him. We have him for 26 minutes and 28.5 fantasy points. 26 minutes with no real competition for other centers in the rotation. That's still pretty conservative for his minutes and projection. And he still lands in nearly 30 fantasy points at min price. He's really hard to get away from. I know a lot of people just are going to look at anybody who's this popular and say, no, thank you. but it's really hard for me to get away from him, particularly on DraftKings where you can play multiple centers.
Yeah, I'm on the same page as you. I mean, the one critique I would give is like, I have one view of the projection data on a given slate where you have, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 centers, maybe 8 that have like about a 5x or better value. You have a couple around that range as well. Like, my concern for Vucevic is not his own production as much as it is getting outscored by 2 other centers on DraftKings, or, another position plus a center. But I really think at 3,200, people are going to play Jaylen Tyson at high volume today. And granted, he's shooting guard, small forward. You're not giving up one of those valuable center spots. But at 3,200, Vucevic is like so much better of a play. I think it's just an easy click, but maybe too easy of a click for a lot of people.
You also want to show you guys that I have a giveaway that I'm doing right here. So what I've got going on over on Twitter, if you guys are a Portfolio EV sub, I'm giving away potentially here, multiple free subscriptions to OddsShopper Portfolio EV. Here's all you have to do to enter. You see here, I have my results posted for November. It doesn't necessarily have to be your November results. It could be your October results or just total results for the year, whatever it is that you feel comfortable sharing. Anybody who replies to this post or quote tweets it with your results and make it third-party tracked, whether it's Pickit or Juice Reel or whatever app you use to track your results, just reply or quote post my post here with my OddsShopper Portfolio EV results, and one or multiple people here that end up replying to this post are going to get yourselves a free subscription to OddsShopper Portfolio EV. So take advantage of it. You guys saw my results on screen. They've been overall really good betting results to start the year. Made a few $1,000s so far in November. We're only a little bit more than halfway through the month. So if you guys would like to get yourself a chance to get even more free stuff, just like we have with the Stokastic Hall of Fame, we've also got our OddsShopper Hall of Fame as well. So just reply to me, get into a raffle, and get a chance to win yourself a free subscription. So let's start getting into questions, see if we've got any.
We also got a projection update too, in case you need it, or anybody watching this.
We did. So I assume that this is going to be encompassing.
Not assume Thomas Bryant's start. It looks like.
Let's see. Let's see what we've got here for the Cleveland Cavaliers. So we ended up going with 16 minutes to Thomas Bryant. We've got, all right, so we kind of spread the minutes around. We've got, Thomas Bryant at 16. We gave Naquan Tomlin after his first career start. He's at 17 minutes. Tyson, like we said before, his minutes should be limited. So it looks like we kind of mixed the minutes around. It's not one predominant guy. So first look here, Spags, I don't really think anybody looks all that much better in the absence of Jared Allen.
No, I mean, Mobley, again, looked okay already. I think he looks fractionally better. And I also juiced the rates a little bit to reflect Allen being out, and I didn't really move anything that much. DeAndre Hunter, I think, looks fractionally better. Garland, I'm still probably not playing at a 24-minute or so estimate. Nobody really got that much better from this. I think, again, just the core guys, this is what I thought would happen. The core guys look a little bit better, but really nobody else popping even a little, it looks like.
Yeah, we've got Evan Mobley in here for 43.5 fantasy points now at 7,900. Mitchell is at 47.7 fantasy points at 9,300. Garland's got the minutes restriction. Hunter, 29.5 fantasy points at 5,900. It largely looks like guys are pretty fairly priced. Jaylen Tyson actually looks like the best points per dollar player on the team in our projections right now. We've got him at just under 20 fantasy points at 3,100, but on a slate of this size with a lot of value, I don't think there's a real ceiling for him with his minutes restriction.
Oh, shit. Kobe White out?
Oh, all right. Now we've got Kobe White out of the mix for the Chicago Bulls. So if I'm not mistaken, Kobe White also was not somebody who was on the injury report before. I don't even think I remember being probable.
Going to play today. Yeah.
All right. So let's go ahead and look at the Chicago Bulls really quick. Now, keep in mind, Kobe White has missed the majority of the season to this point. We haven't seen him active for all that many games, but still, obviously, this matters. He's played a couple of games. He came back on November 16th. Here's what's surprising. Do the Bulls play tomorrow?
I don't know. I haven't looked at tomorrow's schedule yet. Let's see.
Because I'm trying to figure out, so the NBA is intentionally, I know they say that back-to-backs don't impact player performance, but they've coincidentally not scheduled teams in the NBA Cup on back-to-backs. Just coincidence.
They aren't a back-to-back against the Wizards, so he might be. He's trying to get the real money spot tomorrow against the Wizards, I guess. But yeah, he's out today, and they play at 8 tomorrow.
All right, so I guess that's what they're doing then, is they're just because they're sitting him out on the front end of the back-to-back instead of the back end. Seems like an odd decision when the game tomorrow is against the Washington Wizards, but whatever. That's what it is that the Chicago Bulls have decided to do. As far as the pricing for other guys, Giddey's still 9,500. Vooch is 8K. You got Buzelis 6K. Io's $5,000. He's the guy who I do think stands to benefit the most from this, because Kobe White, even though he's just recently back from the injury, 30 and a half minutes in his first game, 27 and a half minutes in the second game that he played. So if anybody, I think Io is the one that stands out the most, but considering the price points on a lot of these guys, I don't think it opens up a whole ton unless you see it differently. Dosunmu, GPP play, but nothing else that I'm really looking to prioritize.
Maybe Herter a little bit more, because I think they would need some scoring and definitely can put him in some lineups there. But I think Trey Jones looking fractionally better. The big thing for me is like, I didn't think I was going to get with the field on Giddey. And I love playing Giddey in general, especially when Kobe White's out. But Kobe White was like playing at a 1.4 fantasy point minute pace in the limited sample size he's played so far. So that kind of hurt the projection a little bit for Giddey. Obviously, don't think Kobe White keeps that up, but like he can play pretty well. But taking him off here in a game where we have almost a 250 total between the two teams and just massive pace, like the Bulls, one of the fastest paced teams in the league. Going back to last year, this year, the Heat at about a 105 pace, fast in the league. Like Giddey, I think Giddey looks like an awesome play now, and I was not going to get anywhere near a third of the ownership that they were getting before.
Yeah, so I mean, to me, it's not that I think. For me, it's just Giddey already looked good, and he remains looking reasonably good as a pay-up option. So that part doesn't really change all that much for me. And then also part of this as well, we've got a Leaky Crease 440 in the YouTubes here. He's saying that, am I correctly seeing a 250 total for Chicago and Miami? That's insane. Yes, you are looking at the correct total. We've got, let's see, what is the, a little bit lower now. It's 248.5 now for the Miami and Chicago game, at least over on FanDuel, but that's still obviously a massive, massive number. And yeah, the Miami Heat, who just a few seasons ago were kind of a slow plotting team, that's not the case anymore. Eric Spoelstra, he evolves with the players on his team, which I like to see in a coach who's not like, this is my system, this is what we do no matter what. Eric Spoelstra, we've seen him coach all kinds of different teams from the Miami Heat, and he's malleable. He will change his team, or his strategy, I should say, for whatever his team is. You don't have to build a team for Eric Spoelstra. He could adjust for the team. You see here, BD8 in chat, or BD85 Sky in chat saying Miami plays fast as hell. Yeah, and Chicago also, team that plays pretty fast and has a dog shit defense. So it should be a game that features a lot of scoring. And to what Spags said before, I think the highest total of any game that we've seen so far this year. There could be one that I'm forgetting about, but I think it's the highest total. It's a pretty substantial one.
Even historically, I don't really remember many 250s. I feel like we've had one or two maybe in the last couple seasons, but I struggle to think of them, and I feel like I'd remember it a little more meaningfully.
I'll ask ChatGPT to see how this goes. Now, this flopped terribly earlier, Spags. We go on the NFL strategy show. I had a question that I was all excited. I was like, oh, I bet I could pull this from ChatGPT. I don't even remember what it was when Loff and I were talking. Then it just said it didn't have the answer. But let's see. This one's kind of suspect, but maybe we'll be able to scan the internet and find the game that had the highest total from either this season or last season. Let's see if any super chats came in. That's a no. If there's any questions in Discord, we do have one here from Jansen's. Jansen says that he's got 85% Queen and 75% Pella Larson. And then he said, should I dumb down? Well, I don't know. I think you mean ROI boost him. That is funny that you just said it dumb down. But should he dumb down a bit? 85% Queen and 70% Pella Larson. Is that too much in your opinion?
It does feel a little point chasey for Queen, but I really love Queen, man. Like, he's so fun, and he went at Jokic as hard as anybody has in a while. Tough start in that game, and it does feel like, if things run askew, maybe you lose a few minutes. You still have Makovich out for that team, and the new coaching staff with Borrego there leading the way does seem like they recognize that Queen is like one of the pathways out of whatever they're in right now. And Queen did not defer to Zion in that game either. And Zion was even creating for him a little bit. I was surprised by that. So I'm cool with Queen. Pele Larson, I would love to get less of than Stokastic is given right now. I mean, I'm not as high on him today. I get he's cheap enough, but now we have other value options we can go to. Larson to me is just not as big of a factor, but the sim loves him. I think the salary just allows you to get into the real spiking guys around you who have real ceilings.
Morningwood Blues, there's no way this is correct. Says he bet under 280. Like, this must have been a live total of a game. There's no way the pregame total was 287 points. I did, by the way, Spags, I was able to use ChatGPT to find the information. The highest total in any NBA game for the last 5 years, there was a game between the Hawks and the Pacers earlier this year, this was earlier last year. January 5th, 2024, the Hawks and the Pacers played in a game with a 262 total.
Okay. So yeah, that's definitely a lot. Yeah. People in the chat are like, oh, it's a game hit 260 this week. It's like, it hit 260. It wasn't, the market wasn't at 260. You don't see that very often. But I had the same thing with ChatGPT and my chat this morning was like, we were talking about the salary for Jokic, and Jokic had 13.2 today. And I don't remember Westbrook getting above 13. I think this is the high, but somebody's like, Westbrook was 15K against the Magic on like February. And I'm like, what? And that's like, nobody could find proof of that. But this guy was really confident in my chat.
I do remember back in the day some of the FanDuel pricing on Russell Westbrook when like Kevin Durant was out, or James Harden when one of his playing partners was out, like depending which star was, whatever team he was on, whether it was Houston and Dwight Howard was out, or whether it was Houston and Chris Paul was out, or Houston and Russell Westbrook was out. I remember James Harden on FanDuel would get to 14K plus, so would Russell Westbrook. I don't remember what the DraftKings prices were, but yeah, I do remember some pretty exorbitant prices on Westbrook and Harden back in the day. DFS dope strategies, Mobley or Barnes for cash. Let me look at the updated ownership we have. My initial thought is for cash, probably neither of them, but I guess Mobley if it has to be one. But let's see what we've got here. Has Mobley come up in ownership in a way that's meaningful in our last run? Oh, I guess he has 33%. Yeah, Mobley then.
Yeah. Barnes was at 25 the last run too. Like, these guys are both decently owned, but I think Mobley at this point, having the center run a little bit more secure, I think that makes him more of a cash game play. And like Greg mentioned, like, follow the ownership for your cash games. People always overthink cash. Just play ownership every day, every sport, no matter what it is.
And then Chris Churchill, thoughts on tiers? Yeah, I'll run off my top options for tiers right here. Loading it up on my phone, and we'll see what we've got for tiers for today. All right, Spag. So tier 1, we've got, this is the first time I can remember all season that there was a tier 1, that there wasn't 1 or 2 players out, and it doesn't matter because Jokic is one of the options, and the other options are Şengün, Giddey, and Booker, so it's Jokic.
Yeah, Jokic, I've got 17 points higher than the next closest guy, so I would go Jokic.
Donovan Mitchell, Julius Randle, Pascal Siakam, Jaylen Brown, Anthony Edwards. In tier 2, I'm going to go with Donovan Mitchell there.
Yeah, I don't mind Mitchell. I'd go Jaylen Brown. I've got him a little bit higher.
Okay. Tier 3, Scotty Barnes, Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., Zion Williamson, Kevin Durant, and Amen Thompson. That will be Scotty Barnes for me.
I have a dead even with Barnes and Porter Jr. I'd probably go Barnes, a little bit safer, but if you want to go lower owned, I don't mind Porter Jr.
Tier 4, we've got, Kobe White is out now, but then also Evan Mobley, Bam Adebayo, Vooch, Trey Murphy, Brandon Ingram, Derek White. This is going to be Mobley for me with Jared. I'd honestly probably was going to be Mobley even if Jared Allen was in, but that just kind of solidifies him here.
Yeah, I'm with you on Mobley. He just projects better. Derek White, I think, is a little bit undervalued on the slate, and he is absolutely one day going to break a slate because he's been shooting so poorly to start the year, but Mobley is just the better play.
Norman Powell, Jaime Jaquez Jr., Emmanuel Quickley, RJ Barrett, Nick Claxton, Peyton Pritchard, PJ Washington, and Wiggins, who's out. So that's what we've got for tier 5. Of all those options, I want to go with one of the Toronto guys against Washington. Give me RJ Barrett in tier 5.
Quickley was in that tier. I think I'd go. That's tough. I would go Quickley, I think, but I don't mind Barrett either. They're pretty even to me. And yeah, Barrett's more expensive, so yeah, either of those are fine.
And then tier 6, Mathurin. We've got Keshon George. We've got Dylan Brooks, Khalil Ware, Rudy Gobert, Andrew Nembhard, we've got Mark Williams, and we've got Buzelis. I will go with George of all those options. I know it's not a massive benefit from him, but it definitely does help that there's no Alex Sarr and whatever Bagley's out, but who really gives a shit? But yeah, Sarr being out, that does benefit George.
Yeah, I love Keshon George. I've been above market on him the last couple games, and he keeps paying off. So that's ever a reason for you to play somebody. It's a reason for me to keep doing it, I think. But I like Keshon George, and I think no Sarr out there. George has really been asserting himself the last couple of games in a way that I was worried about with some of the stars coming back in. But I love Keshon George on both slates.
Mammon Sanson Calzone wants to know who the core plays are for the DraftKings $15 GPP. All right, so if we look at the DraftKings side of things, Spags, there's no way around it. Vukcevic, almost called him Vooch there for a second. Tristan Vukcevic has to be considered a core play. Who else are we going to put in that group? My favorite pay-up option is Giddey. I mentioned before that Kobe White being out, it helps him, but I was already going to like Josh Giddey a lot. So Giddey, my favorite pay-up option in the slate. Vukcevic is my favorite pay-down option. Who are you liking the most overall to as other core plays to add to that mix?
Yeah, I mean, with you on Vukcevic, I think no matter what format you're playing, he should probably be in the first run of anything you do. Besides him, I'd probably throw in Derek Queen. I feel pretty confident about him. I worry about the ownership, but I think he's good. Jokic is not a single line of play, but I do like him. Keshon George, if you want one more for free.
Yep. I don't have an issue with any of those guys being core options to be building around the $15, all ones who in my last run I had a pretty decent amount of exposure to. Still have to do some reruns for the most recent news, which I'll start to do as we answer these questions. We've got here Hotwire 76, Bam or Vooch for tonight. So between Bam and Vooch, I'll be interested to see how it looks when I update lineups, but for me, I am pretty sure that is going to be Bam.
Yeah, I will also go Bam. I've got Bam by about 4 fantasy points.
Yeah, the only thing I was wondering is like how much is our projection boosted now on Vooch from what it was before? We've got Vooch at 40.35 fantasy points. We've got Bam at 42. So that narrows the gap a little bit with Kobe White being out. But either way, it's going to be Bam for me. And then the next question we have here, M. Grizzly, anybody that we want to boost to position for late news? Well, one thing that is nice about today, there's only one game locking at 7 p.m. Eastern time, Pacers Cavs. So that is just going to naturally give us a little bit of time. But is there anything in particular that you're doing in your lineups to maybe backload them a little bit, Spags, to position us better for late news? So I'll also give you a second to think about it and remind you guys what we're looking at on the injury report. And we have seen some players ruled out that we weren't expecting. Kobe White wasn't on the injury report. He got, or at least wasn't questionable on the injury report. He got ruled out. Jared Allen was ruled in, got ruled out afterwards. We still got Steven Adams questionable. Jabari Smith is questionable. We've got D'Angelo Russell also as questionable for today. So from your standpoint, Spags, is there anything you feel like you want to be backloading to prepare yourself for news, which I'll most likely be looking at from Houston because they have 2 front court players questionable?
I don't think so because I feel pretty good about the amount of like Şengün I'm getting. I suppose if Adams were out, it might give one more value option opening up, but like I feel really good about Vukcevic. I feel good enough about Queen. I can bring some swappability with Queen. Jokic, I'm going to be above the field on as well. So not that you could swap anything with him really, but if I have a couple guys with him, I'll have more than enough salary to go around. So I feel pretty good about my late setup, but I think at this point, unless there's something else out of the blue, which I can't prepare for anyway, I feel pretty good about what we know at this point and building lineups off of it.
Yeah, so I want to just sort here by the Houston Rockets, and we'll look at them because I do think it's worth talking about in the event, because we're not going to get this news on the show. It's not going to be coming out until much later, but in the event that Jabari Smith and Steven Adams both sit, what opens up for you in that kind of scenario? Because that's all of a sudden a lot of front court minutes. Like, does Clint Capella come into play in that scenario? Is there somebody else you'd be taking a look at? Because we're taking out a decent chunk of their front court minutes and rebounding in that scenario.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question. I mean, mean, last game, they didn't play Okogie as much because they played a little bit more of Adams, and Jabari Smith played 31 minutes. I think you just get more Okogie. Like, I feel like they never do anything fun anymore where, like, there's nobody else. Like, with Tara Eason out, especially, they don't have, like, any cool guys coming off the bench where it's like, oh, this is so sick, I want to play this guy. Like, Reed Shepherd, I'm okay with. I think his odds of closing get a little bit better if you take a few bodies out of the equation. But even then, if he's getting killed by Jamal Murray tonight, they'll take him off and close there with Aaron Holiday or somebody like that. But I don't know. I think somebody, like, there might be more incremental gains for, like, Durant is, to me, unplayable at his current price tag and projection. Amin Thompson, barely playable. I think those guys get more playable. Şengün, to me, looks like he's got more of a real ceiling, but I'm already playing Şengün enough, so I don't think anything changes really.
Yeah, maybe just because there's extra minutes available, you could say, like, hey, maybe Reed Shepherd plays a couple of extra minutes, but I think there's better value plays on the slate. If we see something crazy like Clint Capella end up starting, then, which I do not think at all is going to be the case, but if something crazy like that happens where they want to keep the two bigs line up, then, potentially him, where he'd make more sense though is just a late night slate. Like if you're looking at like 3-game, I didn't look at what the games are on the late slate, but presumably, it's not on that one. There's the late turbo slate that locks at 9. So like for one of those smaller slates, that's something that a Clint Capella can make a little bit more sense on. Probably not for me on the main slate though, just because you'd probably have to be foregoing Vucevic lineups with the hope that Steven Adams and Jabari Smith sit. That's probably what would be necessary for Clint Capella. So I don't really need to do too much, I feel like, to prepare for the Rockets, just because I think the opportunity cost is too high for any of the guys like Clint Capella, who might be like a fringe GPP play. So nothing too much that I'm going to be doing there. Are there any players in particular that don't show up in a ton of lineups, either as a pay-up option or a value, that you maybe do want to boost just because you might think that they're potentially a sneaky option, even if it isn't just for the purposes of late swapping?
No, I mean, I'm trying to get Jokic above the field. I was getting about 28% before this. Getting Şengün, similar amounts. I mean, nothing really I think I need to boost right now because I'm naturally getting these guys enough. But if I were to boost anything, like the field ownership, to me, 3% expected own for Jokic, I don't see how that's possible with the value opening up. But I know people don't love paying the 13-2 price tag. People are really afraid of the Houston matchup. But to me, like the two centers in that game are really the ones where there's just no ownership going there. Like everything's going to Pirtle, everything's going to Queen, everything's going to Vucevic now. But like the entire top projected part of center looks really lightly owned to me.
So the reason for that, which I actually do understand it for today, and I'm typically trying to get to more of Jokic in the field. It's more like I'm going out of my way to try to get to more of Jokic on most slates. Not the case for me today. And I think it's because of what you just mentioned there. You've got Vucevic is taking up one center spot for 80% of the field's lineups. Now you've only got, for center plus utility, you've got 120% ownership left. And now you're looking at some of the other guys like Queen, who's popular in the front court, and we've got Pirtle pulling 31% ownership. You just kind of run out of spots for Jokic to have much ownership. So I do think he's going to be relatively low owned for today. Whenever Jokic is low owned, I obviously think that there could be a case made for him. I do think I'm going to struggle to ultimately end up getting there, though, because of the amount of value at the position. I think I'd rather just pay up elsewhere, Spags. And that's where I land on to somebody like Josh Giddey a lot. We talked about how up-paced that game environment is. There's no Kobe White in the mix now as well. So that's where I prefer to spend up as opposed to center, just because of all the value that exists at center.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm getting some lineups right now. I'm trying to work through it and rerun a sim too, but getting some lineups with Giddey and Jokic, I think that's possible with the value. I mean, not to, chase the NFL slate that we had last week, but it kind of feels to me like nobody's paying up for Jokic plus something. And, McCaffrey and Bijan in NFL last week, just people weren't getting there. And I think there was enough value on that slate to justify it. Not that I played enough of that anyway, but I think for this slate too, it's like you can now afford Giddey and Jokic. And I love the situations with both of them. It's definitely more the field for Jokic's case. Yeah, I like, if you can afford Jokic at least more than 3%, I would try to do it.
K Jizzle wants to know, what are our thoughts on CJ McCollum for tonight? So CJ McCollum, was I getting McCollum lineups? So he's not like somebody who doesn't show up. I just have 10% of him. that's around what the field has as well in my last run. He's just kind of a guy that exists in the mid-range. He's fine to have in his like salary filler, or if that's just, around what you need to have to fill out a lineup. I'm not doing anything to get for or against CJ McCollum in lineups. He just kind of exists. He's in about 10% of lineups. He's fair for it today. Do you have any strong CJ McCollum takes?
I mean, I certainly prefer Keshon George, but the field does as well. So I see the logic in McCollum in that respect, that if he does hit one of his outlier days where he hits a bunch of shots, maybe he takes some work away from George. But I think like Koulibaly looks like a better play to me. McCollum is now in the Middleton tier where I just don't see getting to him. But McCollum's playing, 30 projected minutes. So like, I don't hate you playing him. I don't want to play him though.
This Wizards team drives me crazy with whatever their dumb rebuild strategy is. It's like, hey, we're going to rebuild, but we're going to start CJ McCollum and Chris Middleton. For what? Just to take touches and playing time away from the guys who are potentially pieces you're going to be building around. But yeah, see, he's had a couple ceiling games this year, McCollum for sure. Let's see. We've got Rick Durkin here saying, does Fontecchio benefit with a few minutes tonight? So the problem I have with somebody like Fontecchio is on a slate like this that has as much value as it has. You've got Fontecchio, you see in our projections, 19 fantasy points at $3,500 over on DraftKings. It's another one of these guys. Like I wouldn't tell you that if you had Fontecchio in a lineup that you have to take him out, but at the same time too, he's certainly not somebody who I want to be jamming in. If you have him, fine. If you're playing one lineup though, he shouldn't be in it in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I am above the field on Fontecchio, getting him in about a quarter of my lineups right now because of what, again, you have to pay some VIGs if you're going to play Jokic and Giddey, I think is what it looks like. But I do think for Fontecchio, I think he gets a little bit of a gain. He is still a bench player. It is still the Heat where they have a ton of depth and go a million different ways. But he does seemingly recently gain a little bit of assist upside from some of the guys they've had out. And he can get hot from three. I think last game he put up 19 fantasy points while shooting like 2 for 11. So if he gets a good score and you needed the guys that he allowed you to afford, great. But I kind of like it too. He's not Pele Larson, just to be candid about it.
Cavs starting lineup is Garland, Mitchell, Tyson, Hunter, Mobley. Keep in mind that the Cavs did say that Tyson and Garland are both going to have limited minutes. Now, they've already lied to us once today, so that's worth noting. But Tyson is starting, which means that before Spags, when you and I were going over their potential starting lineups, it is not going to be Thomas Bryant. And that is definitely something that's going to take him out of the mix as somebody who could be a contrarian front court option. Any thoughts you have on that starting lineup for Cleveland?
I'm a little surprised we're starting Tyson and Garland on minutes limits. Feels like a lot of guys on minutes limits to be starting. But I mean, Tyson, I wonder what the ownership gets to if people just see the starting part, not the minutes limit part, because people love playing Jaylen Tyson as like a guy just standing around doing stuff of the starting unit. And he's 3,100 and shooting guard, small forward. I think you can roll the dice with Tyson. I don't feel good about those guys, though. I'd rather play Mobley or Mitchell or Hunter.
He is projecting decently for us even before the. I kind of think this is probably negative for him because now he's in. We unless we just think now that the minutes restriction is fake, right? If we think him starting means the minutes restriction is kind of fake, that changes the equation. But right now, we've got him in for 23 minutes, 19.5 fantasy points, 26% projected ownership. He's got good positionality, shooting guard and small forward. So if you needed to go to him to save salary, like I get how people click on him. I just question what the ceiling is for a guy who's now in the starting lineup. He's competing with Mobley, with Mitchell, with Garland, and Hunter for usage. And we're probably only getting 20 to 24 minutes out of him. He's an okay value option, points per dollar. I just don't know that there's a real ceiling there.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he had a lot of ownership projected before, and other things are moving right now and updating as we speak. But 27%, it feels like a lot. I get he makes lineups look good. I'm with Fontecchio guy. I'd rather roll the dice on Fontecchio than Jaylen Tyson.
Let's see. We've got a couple more super chats here, and then we will do the nuke of the night. We've got one here from Corey Bomber. Corey wants to know who's our favorite play between 5,500 and 6K. He says he's already got Derek Queen in his lineup. All right, so let me look through lineups here. This is 50, and I guess position doesn't matter. So 5,500 to 6K, position doesn't matter, and it can't be Derek Queen. That is, I think it's Jakob Poeltl for me.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, and the field definitely giving you full bona fides for him too. Yeah, Pirtle, I'm with you on that. Anybody that I have off market? DeAndre Hunter, I don't mind either, but Pirtle projects better, so Pirtle.
All right, let's see what we've got next here. We have ALS Jets, Flag, Jaime, Barrett, or PJ Washington got $7,400 left. Okay, so any of those four guys, Cooper Flag, Jaime Jaquez, RJ Barrett, PJ Washington, who do you like the most of those four?
I am under on Jaquez today, but he's the only one I'm getting out of that group. I think you make the case for PJ Washington being an interesting tournament option, but like if your lineup isn't all chalk around that, I'd play Jaquez. Like the field's playing Jaquez for a reason.
Yeah, so I think there's a case for Barrett too, just going up against Washington. I don't hate RJ Barrett. I have a couple of lineups with him. But of all those players, Jaquez clearly shows up in the most amount of lineups for me in that up-pace game environment. So Jaime Jaquez, that's going to be my choice for you. Your towel, favorite plays per position on FanDuel and best value, please. All right, so I just updated my FanDuel lineups where I am playing a little bit more today. I like the $5 they have over there, Spags. So let's go back and forth. I'll do my favorite plays per position on FanDuel. You do it for DraftKings. We'll start at point guard. And by the way, best value overall in the slate, it just has to be Vucevic. Sorry, it's a chalk option. It's also kind of he projects so much better than every other punt play. He has to be considered the top value on DraftKings and FanDuel. But top overall point guard play for me on FanDuel, that's Josh Giddey, Spags. How about for you on DK?
DK also Giddey, yeah, easy.
All right, over at the shooting guard position, which would also be Josh Giddey, so I'll have to pick somebody else. RJ Barrett for me, only $6,500 over on FanDuel, showing up in a good chunk of lineups.
Keshon George for me, big fan of his today, but Field's there now for sure.
All right, small forward for me on FanDuel, that will be Keshon George for me on FanDuel. How about for you on DraftKings at small forward?
Small forward, for me, it'd be Michael Porter Jr. I'm kind of flipping the Jaquez and Porter Jr. ownership to some extent, so I like Porter Jr.
Power forward for me over on FanDuel. That one is going to be Zion Williamson, who's at 8K.
Derek Queen on DraftKings at that 5,500.
All right, and then at center, call me a chalk donkey, but Trixton Vucevic. Like I just have to go with him. He projects so well.
Yeah, it's Vucevic, and if it's not him, I'm going ham on Jokic and paying all the money and hoping he goes for 80 today.
All right, we've got, Andrew May just left us a super chat. There was no question, but I went and found his question chat. He wants to know my favorite plays by position on FanDuel. So that is a double down on the question before, but thank you for the super chat, Andrew May, but I don't have any different answers than I just gave you right there. Avi Schreier wants to know, are the Celtics incentivized to win by 50 points? Well, here's okay, so point differential matters for the NBA Cup. I don't know the exact spot they are in the standings, but by the way, we just found out D'Lo has been ruled out with his illness, and Lively also out there. But are the Celtics incentivized to win by 50? It's not that easy. If every NBA team was just like, oh, I'm going to win by 50 today, then there'd be a lot of, really, really good NBA. Like everybody would be the Oklahoma City Thunder then. It's hard to just be like, I'm going to play Boston because they want to win by 50.
Yeah, I fully agree there. And yeah, like it's the NBA Cup. They all are theoretically incentivized to do it, but the different teams have different motivations. They want to get guys through healthy. Like we've seen before during the NBA Cup, like a team is up enough and they're like, fine, let's pull it back. I think it was Cleveland versus Washington that happened, where like Cleveland was kicking their ass and they could have kept putting up more points and they just didn't bring the starters back in. So it's, diminishing returns at a certain point. So I don't think you want to assume that.
And let's see what we've got next. The questions keep coming. We've got one here from Vegeta 50 HBK. My last one in at forward on DK lands me on Jaden McDaniels. Is this my best option at $5,800 or less? So I don't know who else is in the lineup, but Derek Queen is pretty clearly the best forward eligible player to me, who's $5,800 or less.
Yeah, Derek Queen would be a better play. I don't mind McDaniels like a tournament option. He's okay and will be unowned. And he generally is like a good player. But yeah, if you're playing like one more spot, Queen is an infinitely better play projection wise, all that stuff.
And let's see what we've got. Boy, lots of all right. So we just followed up. He said he already has Queen. All right. So he did leave a follow-up super chat to say that he already has Queen in the lineup. So all right, let's see. can't be Derek Queen. Who else then, Spags? Let's see.
McDaniels or Jabari look okay to me. I like they're my favorite options, but they're not like awesome or anything.
Let's see. What was it? Could be 5,800 or less at forward. Is there anybody I like better than that? Boy, Hunter just misses the mark. Yeah, I guess it is McDaniels for me. All right. McDaniels it is. Sean wants to know DK forward spot for $5,200 or less.
It's like we're doing prices right here.
Yeah, I know this. We've got thematic questions today. This is interesting. That's Koulibaly for me.
Yeah, that is Koulibaly. 27 fantasy points for me. Yeah, just it was 5,200. So yeah, not Jabari Smith. Yeah, Koulibaly, easy.
All right. But this show has been flying by. If you guys have not done it yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you want to sign up for any of the packages we have here at Stokastic, link is down below in the YouTube description box. You could also take advantage of our link join offer. If you want a chance to win free stuff as well, I talked about it at the top of the show. I have pinned to my Twitter profile right now a giveaway. If you are a Portfolio EV sub, just share your profitable betting results for the year, the month, last month, whatever it is that you are proud of from your betting results that you've achieved with Portfolio EV. Either reply to my post or quote tweet it with your betting results for the year, and you'll be entered into a giveaway for a chance to win a free Portfolio EV sub. And with that in mind, Spags, nuke of the night time. All right, time's been going quick, so I played the shorter animation that we have of the two because we only got 9 minutes left in the show, Spags. But who are you going with for your nuke of the night today?
I mean, Vucevic, too easy. Derek Queen, too easy in terms of ownership. I'll go to Keshon George, who has picked up ownership from Sar being out, but I'm just a fan of his. It certainly feels like this run of hot games could finish at any time. We're talking about the last 3 games for him being 43 fantasy points or higher. The role seems to be evolving. He's also had 16 or more shots in those last 3 games. Before that, we're talking 9-10 for him. So Keshon George, I just think looks awesome today. And hopefully that'll work out.
A lot of value on the slate, and a lot of the value also is coming in the front court. So trying to find some backcourt players to pay up for today. Josh Giddey's kind of the obvious one. Then I start to look at, all right, who are other players that I get overweight to as backcourt players that I think could help differentiate a lineup? That's often what I like to do in these kinds of situations. And for me, that's going to be Donovan Mitchell, $9,300 against a very much struggling Indiana Pacers team this year. Good positionality for Donovan Mitchell, point guard, shooting guard, just over 10% owned. So that's a contrarian piece that I'm finding myself overweight to the field to here, Spags. Give me Donovan Mitchell, especially with, even though Garland back and Tyson's, these guys are both expected to be on minutes limits. I think there is potential for a high usage game for Donovan Mitchell. You have to worry a little bit about the blowout, but with that said, there's a lot of games that are potential blowouts to me. So I'm about 2x the field on Donovan Mitchell. I'm going with him for my nuke of the night, Spags.
I think it's a good call. I mean, Mitchell, to me, whenever the ownership's not crazy there, and it seems like in the most recent runs of data, and you're talking about 20% or so, which is totally fine for him. It feels like Mitchell makes winning lineups whenever the field is not there as much. And I guess that's one reason maybe you don't like him as much. But like he's just gets there so often. Like he and Maxey are the two that feels like they're winning tournaments every slate they're on.
Pierre wants to know, is Portland a priority on FanDuel? So I'm in the midst of updating my lineups right now, but yes. So Jeremy Grant at $6,200. He was showing up in a bunch of lineups for me over on FanDuel. He was the primary one. Avdia in a little bit of lineups, so he's pretty expensive in $9,400. But yeah, Jeremy Grant's definitely a priority over on FanDuel.
I think taking those guys off, like you're losing now 2 guys that have commanded like 70% of the possessions that they're on the court. So anybody who's left, the price tags are pretty expensive now, no matter what site you're playing on. But the upside's pretty big for whoever's left.
Well, this is just mean, but this is a positive message to my friend Spags here. So Jamie Moore says, just want to say that Spags better than Eric always, and then hashtag cringe donkey. So I don't know if you're the cringe donkey. I don't know if Eric is. I don't know if he likes or dislikes the cringe. But you got a fan there, and Jamie in the chat, Spags.
4 years of membership too, so that's a high value. You are a high roller here, and thank you for the kind words. Even though I do love Eric, he's a cringe donkey, yes, but he's our ass, and we all get access to that ass.
Yeah, so it does mean 48 months. It is a fair sample size of shows that he's got there. Like this isn't like a variance situation where he's seen a small sample size of shows. He's been watching shows for 4 years, probably hundreds of shows, and listen, everybody has their own preferences, and you're his, Spags. You are his.
I'll take it. Some men prefer blondes. Some men prefer, cuts.
Money hats. Let's see. Was there any other super chats in here? Not at the moment. So let's see how many questions we could answer from Discord before we get to the end. If there was any outstanding questions from Discord, we got JT Mack wants to know favorite pay up option and favorite low own play for the 5-5-5 on DraftKings today. So for favorite pay up, I'm going to go Josh Giddey. Favorite low own play, though, I'll say Donovan Mitchell for the slate. Who is your overall favorite pay up option, Spags, and who is your favorite contrarian play tonight?
Favorite pay up option is, might be one of the same, Nikola Jokic. If he's going to be under 5% owned, I'm going to be there. And if he puts up 60, I'll be sad. But, I think for Jokic, he's got the good upside for sure. And I'm really making a brave stand here, Greg. I think Jokic has pretty good upside, but I'm willing to go there. I just think that, at that price tag, he should never be under 5% owned. People got to take that shot.
Yeah, I think you've also made a bold call that Nikola Jokic has a little bit of upside. Only the guy who's scoring the most fantasy points per game of everybody by like 10 fantasy points this year. So Spags going out on a limb and saying he thinks there's a little bit of upside there.
Why is he 3% owned then, Greg? Why is nobody playing him?
Because of the value at the position.
Yeah, so they're idiots. Play Jokic.
Let's see what else we've got from chat. The next question here, it is from ModDubT. Is Brandon Williams a good play now that D'Angelo Russell is out? Yeah, I think Brandon Williams is not like a great play, but yeah, I think good play is the way to put it. I'm doing final updates now, kind of working against the buzzer here. But yeah, I do think that I'll end up with a little bit of Brandon Williams for yourself, Spags.
He came up a lot for me, actually. Just losing one guy with Russell takes decent usage and also has contributed assists pretty well. Like Russell gets a lot of shit, but like he's just mostly shot terribly and he doesn't play defense ever. I get that stuff. Like he has actually produced pretty well in the year at 1.05 fantasy points per minute. Now we're taking out that guard. Sure, Jaden Hardy's going to fill in a little bit, but they have fallen in love with Brandon Williams relatively in the minutes. Stokastic has been just shy of 30 now. So I think Brandon Williams is actually a pretty good play on the slate, and I'm going to be there. Much heavier than 2% that was in one of the runs of ownership lately.
They get a question here from Cream, and we got another salary related question. He's got $7,700 left, Spags, and wants to know who he should roster with the $7,700 that he has remaining.
7,700. Let's see. On DK under 7,700, we are looking at Keontae George. It's not even on the slate. Chet Holmgren not on the slate. I go Derek White. I think Derek White, again, shooting pretty poorly to start the year. I think he's at 48%, 49% true shooting. League average is 58% and change, and Derek White's actually pretty good. He has failed as mega chalk, but today he's not getting played. And I think this is a spot where, just knowing how NBA DFS works, going against Brooklyn especially, this is a spot where if he hits a ton of shots, I just wouldn't be shocked if he gets closer to his average, claws back a little bit more. So I like Derek White on the slate generally. And he'll be forgotten entirely.
Yeah, I'm just looking through some of the players that we've projected the best, and because I've got the Sims running on my computer right here in front of me that I build my lineups on. We've got Brandon Ingram projected the best, and that tracks with me. I'm good with Brandon Ingram being the best guy to play there for 7,700 or under. Then we've got Bando saying last man in, Hunter or McCollum. Between the two of those guys, give me DeAndre Hunter.
Yeah, I like Hunter as well. And also, apparently Lively is now going to play. After he was out, now he's back in, limited to 15, 18 minutes per Coach Kidd. So Lively back in. If you're loading up on Gafford, don't do that.
I'm not going crazy. He was also ruled out not all that long ago, correct?
Yes. Yeah, he was literally ruled out, but I guess then they did a press conference and now he's less ruled out than he was before.
All right, so he's been ruled out for 33 minutes of the game.
Yes. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, those 33 minutes, he's technically out. The rest of it, he is active and available.
What are these coaches doing to us today? All right, so we did catch up on all of the questions now. Let me just make sure that there was no late super chats that came in. Cool. So we have just got about a minute left to go until Locks Bags. I just got my lineups uploaded. Hopefully you did as well. I want to know from you, are there any final thoughts or aspects of the slate that we did not discuss here? Do you want to make sure you leave with the audience before we close out the show?
No, I mean, I think I've been pretty clear about my brave pro Jokic takes. Besides that, I mean, at this point, do we even know the guys that are playing are actually playing? I think it's fair to ask those questions. But no, I feel like to me, this is a Vucevic night. Hopefully you guys are on that same plane, and hopefully he does actually play the minutes we're expecting. But I don't know, Greg, what are we looking forward to at this point? I think this was chaos.
I'm looking forward to whatever player who was ruled out gets ruled in the next few minutes, or the vice versa. Somebody who, once again, Derek Lively, twice in one day, we got Derek Lively was ruled out. And then we found out what I think is funny is he wasn't even ruled in. He was just ruled out. And then it was like, he's got a 15 to 18 minute restriction for today. Like, all right, that's interesting for a guy who's been ruled out. And then Jared Allen was ruled in and then was ruled out shortly after that. So just keep an eye on any kind of weird things that might happen on the injury reports. But it does seem like most things are pretty settled now outside of the Houston Rockets. Here's what we've got for the injury reports today. Steven Adams is questionable. Jabari Smith is questionable. And there are no other prominent players who are on the injury report, and that Houston game isn't taking place until later. So just sit around, wait for that news, and good luck tonight, guys. If you haven't done it yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'll see you back here over the weekend. Later, guys.